Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool podcast. This is the podcast where you get free swim workouts and tips on how to swim better. My name's Nathan Cohn. I'm a professional triathlete. We've got a special guest with us, Michelle. She's also a pro short course triathlete, top 150 in the world, top 10 out of the U.S. women. She's pretty good. And she's going to join us on the pod with Greg Harper, as always. Greg, how you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Looks like you guys are in a better spot though. Poolside in Ventura, California. I'm jealous. Nate hooking up the podcast with excellent viewing in person, two people. You guys are in for a treat today. How are you, Michelle?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys. This is an honor to be here.
Dude, it's awesome to have you. I've been friends with Michelle for a while. We did that China Malaysia trip, if you guys remember me talking about it on the pod. She did way better than me. She won the race in Malaysia. Crazy good swim too. It was a beach start, and Michelle's about like 4'6". So no, just kidding. How tall are you? Like 5 foot?
A whole 5'2".
5'2". So she is a little bit shorter, which usually when you're taller, it helps you with the beach starts, but she crushes them because she practices that skill in the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, you had a really good swim there.
There you go.
Thank you.
That was awesome. So yeah, we're just going to have a quick tip from Michelle to start off the episode like we always do. This is awesome because me and Greg just get to sit, listen, and maybe judge a little bit. But no, Michelle's awesome.
Of course.
We're gonna hear. So what's your quick tip?
Quick tip. I think you should swim first. The first thing you do for a triathlete in the day is swim. I've changed that, and my swimming has improved drastically. Your feel for the water is just so much better if you swim first and you're not swimming after a hard bike or even after an easy bike. Your energy levels are better. You actually enjoy doing it. You're not hangry or anything by then. So yeah, swim first.
Nice.
I think that's a good tip. I mean, I think it depends on who too, but like if you're really trying to like level up your swim or like swim is the focus for you, like doing it first is a really big is a big deal, and I think that's important. And yeah, in the end, it's like if you have a hard bike session, you should be able to swim and do your hard bike session, because if you can't do your hard bike session after you swim, then what's going to happen in the race, you know? So yeah, I think you could. Yeah, it is how a triathlon is set up, and yeah, you know, if you a hard swim session, you know, I'll talk some smack on my buddy Mark Dubrick because he's like, oh, I do a quality long run and then I go into a quality Sunday swim after. And I'm like, why? Like, you're just going to feel bad. The swim's not going to be good. And I don't know why anyone would choose to do a hard swim after a hard run. I think that's kind of misguided.
Yeah, and that's a cool tip because especially for Ironman athletes, and like Greg was saying, it kind of depends on who you are, but most age group athletes and even like a lot of pros, if swimming isn't the thing you're absolutely the best at and you're not doing that swim before the bike ride, that swim into the bike on race day is going to feel so much harder, you know, especially if you never, like, you're always hitting the bike first and then doing the swim in the afternoon and just that accumulated fatigue throughout the day. So yeah, that's a really good tip, Michelle. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks.
I like it.
Awesome. So Michelle has brought us her favorite set. I think this is what we're going to do with our guests from now on. So whenever we have a guest on the episode, we're just going to have them bring their favorite swim set. So yeah, Michelle, actually, you swim with the Kowloon Masters in Thousand Oaks.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because Michelle's a pro, but she's like swimming with the master squad and she's gotten really, really good doing that. I have swam with them before. They have like an exceptionally competitive masters group. Like there's some ex-college swimmers and like some pretty fast people, so that definitely helps. I know like some masters groups are a little more chill and
you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah it helps, I think, because there is fast people. So if you're trying to be fast, swimming with fast people helps. But Michelle, okay, so like I want to know first, like, talk us through your typical warm-up at masters. Like, you jump, is there a warm-up for every single workout, or do you just like jump in and swim around? What do you do?
So it's kind of masters, so it is very chill, and it is more of like a good time, but we do get to work. So it's usually anywhere from like 5, 6 to 10 minutes. However long you chit-chat, you know, if you waste more time chit-chatting, you less warm-up, but we kind of get a free swim, and then after a few minutes, the coach will stop everybody, and we'll do usually start with some kicking or some drills, and then we'll start to do some building into, like, if you have a hard set that day, you'll do some builds and some faster stuff to get going, and then You'll have the main set probably 15, 20 minutes in.
Okay, so is that 15, 20 minutes in, including the like 10 minutes just swimming around
Yeah.
warm up?
It's
Okay.
because it's only an hour Masters, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
that's true.
straight to the
Shoot.
point.
So
Which
Dude, Masters is go, go, go.
Yeah.
There's no, especially if you have an hour. But I like it. You know, if you do a Masters and then you lollygag and you land there for an hour and all of a sudden you swam 2,000 yards, you're like, what was I doing here?
Right. But I think that's very good for triathletes because we're used to only having a couple minute warm up swim before a race. So I think it's a good way to practice.
Yeah, that's super good. I mean, I remember I did a few sessions with Tyler Mislachuk, Canadian pro triathlete, Olympian, in Girona, and some days we would just do like a pretty long warm up, like 1,000 to 2,000. But one day his coach said we're only warming up 400, and then we're getting right into the main set. And it was a pretty hard main set, but like I liked it. It was cool. It was like just to throw that in there and mix it up. It was good for the success memory bank, as I like to call it.
Yeah, and you got to be mentally prepared to warm up 5 minutes and then maybe get out for 10 minutes and then start your race. So it's not even like, yeah, physically we probably could all not warm up and like be okay. But like if you freak out mentally, like, oh, I need my warm up, I didn't get my warm up. So being adaptable and like, oh, I'm going to have 6 minutes today or 10 minutes. When I used to swim Masters, there was a lady and she called, a lot of us would stand around on the deck for a while, you know, chit chat, and she called us the peacocks because, you know, peacocks like spread their wings, you know, and it's just like, oh, the boys are here going to chit chat for 10 minutes instead of warming up. So that's pretty typical Masters. I'm glad that's very California, you know, because it's nice out on the deck and you're chit chatting away.
Except for that one day it rains a year, then there's no chat. We're just running to the friggin' locker room or a car or whatever. Okay, so cool. That's a sweet warm up. A few drills. What's your favorite drill? We'll write that down in the show notes. What's your favorite drill?
Sculling.
Sculling.
I feel like even before a race, I'll do some sculling. It gives me the best feel for the water.
Nice. Awesome.
Pretty basic, but
do you do like
it works.
25 scull into 25 swim, something like that?
Yeah, or even just 12 and a half scull, 12 and a half swim.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's actually pretty, I mean, for a 25-yard pool, that's a little bit more unique, but I like that. 12 and a half.
I like that too. I'll scull to 15 meters a lot. So it's like, you know, and then you just kind of swim easy to the wall. Yeah, I think sculling is so important. I had this buddy who used to just scull. I think I told Nate this, but he could go a 52-100 fly and he only sculled. And that was his only training. And obviously he was talented, but like, he was like, no, I just scull. He'd do like 500 scull a day, 3 days a week. And then he could swim 52 and 100 fly. And that's all he did.
Dang, that's crazy.
So it's powerful. Jeez. It can be very powerful.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so speaking of powerful, this is a kind of powerful set. Like I looked at this when Michelle sent it to me and I'm like, this would be challenging for me to do. Like, this is not a set where you get a lot of chit chat in between. This is like you catch your breath and you get to work. So, Michelle, you want to walk us through the set?
Yeah, it's one of those sets where we get to the pool and the coach is like, all right, you have 5 minutes to warm up and then we're getting right into it. And you got to hope you have a good day because there's no slacking around here. So it's a series of swims and you'll do a longer swim and a shorter swim, but they're on the same interval. So the longer swim, you're kind of getting after it and you're just making the interval. You're kind of getting to the wall and you're just making it. You'll tap the wall and you'll have maybe a breath or two if you're lucky, and then you're going into a shorter interval, but the recovery time is the same, so you're gonna have to keep moving a little bit. So you're recovering, but you're still kind of working. So it's a distance set, but it's like not so boring. So you'll start out with 2 rounds of a 150 and a 125. And you'll do that on the interval where you just tap. So for me, I've done it on the 145. And then you do that 2 times through, and then you'll have a 50 easy and reset.
Okay, so what goes through your mind in that reset phase? Like, are you just trying to get your breath back and like refocus on the next interval, or what are you thinking in that? Because it's not a lot of time, probably.
Right. So, on that, when you do the 150, you go almost balls to the walls, right? And then that 125 is recovery, but you still gotta keep moving. Like, you're not messing around. You'll have maybe 20 extra seconds to play with. So you're kind of just like trying to control your breathing and relax, and you still think about like good technique so that you can kind of swim fast and not just flop through the water and then get to the wall and have 2 seconds before you go hard again. But then that 50 easy and reset it's masters. So like people are gonna dog it, right? So you'll probably do that on like the 2 minute maybe, because people will do some backstroke and some breaststroke, and then you wait for your lane mate and then go again.
Okay, nice. And then, yeah, so the next part, we'll kind of speed run this so we can talk about more of the structure in this workout, because this is a really interesting workout to me. So it's 4 times 175. Michelle did this on the 110, and then 50 easy again, reset. 6 times 75, and then a 50 on the 50, which that's pretty tight. 75 on the 50. And then 8 times 50, and then 25 on the 35. So yeah, and then 50 reset. That's a good amount of quality. So that's like 2,800 of work. If you take out the 200 of the recovery, that's 2,600 of pretty good quality. So yeah, what do you think about that, Greg?
I like the structure of the set. I've done sets like this in the past, in age group growing up. And I think it's really applicable for triathletes too, because it's like you're kind of pushing over threshold a little bit probably, and then like settling under it, but you can't just go too hard and then so easy, right? So it's like that's kind of the zones you might work with, especially, for you, Michelle, you're a short course athlete. It's like you're pushing so hard and then you might get to settle a little bit, but then you have to push again, and like this change of pace where you're recovering at while still moving, which I think is super important. Like, can you swim aerobic pace and like recover and get ready to swim fast again? And like you said, it's not some like boring distance set. And it kind of gets easier, I guess, as you go, because I mean, it's still the fast interval, but on the last round, the 25 is half the distance, right? So like the difference between 150 and 125 is smaller than as you go down. So I really do like how it's structured. And yeah, I've done sets like this before, and I think you can get a lot out of yourself and surprise yourself. So it's a good one for sure.
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to do this set this week. And like this looks pretty fun. But yeah, that's so true. Like for short course and stuff, it's like you have to go so hard at the start, and then like maybe you get on someone's feet, and then you're like, okay, I could like take one breath, and then they surge around the buoy, and then you have to like really pick it up again, and then now you're going in a straight line for like another 50 meters or 100 meters, and you could like chill a little. This is a solid set. So
Yeah.
I really like it. I think I might have to do it too, or maybe write it for a few of the athletes. And clock management too. I mean, triathletes get so sucked into the watch and all this, and just you're gonna have to pay attention to the clock, and you're gonna have to like stay engaged, and all of a sudden you're done, and you're like, it was like a mental workout too. But that's racing too.
Yeah.
I mean, racing is a mental workout. You have to stay on. There's no lapse. So, yep. Overall, a good one, and I can see why you've made some strides in your swim when you do workouts like this.
This would be so hard to like click your watch. I'm like it's so hard for me, but I'm trying to go there in my mind, like wearing a watch in the pool and like trying to stop it and be like, oh, is it 35? Because it's like, if you have a clock, you just look, you could process like the 2, 3, 4 seconds you get there, and then you just get back in and then push off the wall, and then do a nice streamline that first push off the wall. It's like, how do you do that with a watch? It's great because you're like trying to start. Anyways, yeah, if you guys know by now, don't wear a watch in the pool. And I had another question. So Michelle, because Michelle came from more of a running background, and running is almost in a way like opposite to swimming as far as like triathlon goes, because for running, it's like the harder you try, typically the faster you go, more or less. Whereas swimming, I'm sure we've seen a ton of people just thrashing their arms around, trying so hard, and then we call that drowning. If you start to sink, it doesn't matter how hard you're thrashing about. If you're sinking, you're drowning. And yeah, so swimming, it's so much about like technique and that focus on what your body is doing, the proprioception of being aware of how you're moving through the water. Like, how did you find that, like coming from more of a running background?
Oh my gosh. Well, when I first started triathlon, I would go to the pool and swim alone. I had a coach, and he was coaching me remotely, and I'd just go and like smash my workouts and leave. And I was just at a gym, like what was I at? I was at Gold's Gym, and I thought I was like the shit, just showing up at the gym and smashing it, and everyone's sitting in the hot tub. And then I finally just like went to a master's practice, and I got smoked. And the first day I did like 100, and the coach was like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not finishing your stroke. You're like stuck in second gear. He's like, finish your stroke all the way through to your hip. And like just going to the practice and for them telling me like all these cues, I had no idea. It, like opened my mind up to what swimming was, and like how the component of like the technique, how that's more important than like the speed. So they made me like go backwards, right? I had to slow down, and they made me do everything super slow and learn how to swim properly. And I think I've spent the last 2 years working with them to just like fine tune all these little things, and like especially on easy days, like I really trying to fine tune my stroke, and then I bring that into my hard days, and try to hold that. And then even on the hard days, like last week we were doing a sprint set, and my coach was like yapping at me about wasn't pulling my right hand all the way back while I was doing some sprint 25s. So, yeah.
Nice. That's cool. So you kind of enjoy that side of it and like being able to focus more on the technique. Yeah.
I feel like this last year I've become like obsessed with trying to fine tune my stroke, and I just keep getting better and better and better. And it's fun because I feel like I'm not trying very hard swimming anymore, and I'm swimming PRs. And I feel like I'm not in great shape, but I'm swimming my fastest ever. So it's a weird thing to comprehend. And I feel like it's hard to trust until you finally just like get sick of not improving.
I think that's very true. And the mindset is so key. I mean, you're enjoying it, and I feel like be a student of the sport. Like you're obviously taking it serious, and you're trying to understand what makes you fast. And I think that's like the root of it in the end. And yeah, it's just really important if you want to grow as an athlete. And like you said, people like triathletes are a lot of them are so type A, and they're like, I tried for 3 weeks and I didn't get better. I'm like, you got to change your mindset. This is a 6 month process, and like you said, you might have to slow way down, like work on your technique, and then kind of revisit. And it's hard for people to play that long game because Strava, Instagram, or whatever pressures they feel like they need to keep improving so quickly. So yeah, you've got a really good growth mindset on you. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 26.
Me and Michelle were the same
Okay.
age, 98.
You guys are the same age, and like you guys could have long careers still, right? I mean, you see people go into their late 30s. So I feel like you both have good growth mindsets, especially someone from as a runner going into swimming, and you still want to get like, I've been around this sport my whole life and I coach people, but I'm always trying to be open to like learning new things or growing with myself too. And I think that's important. So nice. That's exciting.
That mindset is so important. I have been thinking about in the past when I was like 19 and I was like coming out of juniors, going into like my 20s, I used to tell myself, like I was so intense. I was like, I literally stood at the front of the pool, like in front of my lane, and I was like, I do what I don't want to today so that tomorrow I can do what others can't. And I was like so like, I don't know, some David Goggins thing before I even knew what that was. And I was just like trying to white knuckle it and just like not enjoying myself, because I literally said to myself, I do what I don't want to, like before I jumped into the pool. But now it's like I've really over the years changed my mindset, and I'm sure people have heard me say this. I'm like in the middle of a set and I'm like, man, I just love swimming. Or like before I get into the pool, sometimes when it's cold, and by cold I mean 55 degrees and drizzling, before I jump in the pool, I'm like, oh yeah, I love swimming. And it's like a little bit sarcastic, but most of the time I just do. Like it's so nice. And I feel like that is something I don't see in some pros. Like some pros are like, man, I just hate swimming. Like I'm a runner, like I don't like swimming. And some of them, I mean, they can white knuckle it, but some of them just don't improve, And
well, they've given up. Well, some of them, like you hear them talking like, yeah, I'm always going to come out behind. And like, yeah, with that mindset, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this girl, Siri Lindley, and she was like a world champion for the US. And she was so bad at swimming when she started, and she's like, I'm gonna swim 80,000-yard weeks, and then she did, and she became a world champion. I mean, she was like so slow to swimming front pack ITU. So I think anyone can do it, but you have to kind of do what you've done, Michelle, and take it slow and have that good growth mindset. And it's like that's so important, to develop, really.
That's super cool. And like I've raced with Michelle and stuff, and I've like seen her race, and like she cares a lot about like performing well, and obviously like she's racing at a really high level. but she's also like super fun to work out with. Like you're like we did a bunch of swim sessions and like freaking crappy hotel pools and stuff. Like just doing like that one in friggin' China was like my teeth felt like chalk after. It was like so much chemicals and
was
stuff.
horrible.
I don't even know what distance the pool was. It was probably like 21 meters or something. It was so weird. But she's fun to work out with because she enjoys it and stuff. And that's part of the mindset too, is like the more you can enjoy it, the more you can stack good sessions. And the more you can stack good sessions, the better. Like the results will just come. So yeah. That's super sweet. So yeah, I don't know, Greg, do you have any last questions before Michelle gives us a take?
I would say if you were to like give advice to a runner who's 21 or 22, like coming into triathlon and they think, oh, like I can run this fast, like but I can't swim, and maybe they get frustrated or they're scared to like start this journey. Like what words of advice would you give them before they start?
I feel like it seems very daunting at first, but find a master's group. Really, just find some peers, and yeah, they might be middle-aged, washed up, like D1 swimmers or D2, whatever, but they know their stuff. Like at first it does, like I didn't want to listen to them at first because I was already fitter than them, but I'd get in the water and they wax me, and they still wax me, but they teach me, and they like give me these little nuggets, and I don't understand them for maybe a month or two. And then one day something clicks, and then I get it, and then they're like, wow, I told you 2 months ago. But find people. Like, don't be afraid to look around at the pool, and someone's swimming good technique and fast. Go ask them for some advice. Swim in front of them and have them give you some cues. I really think
like
you have the engine. If you're a runner, you have the engine. You just have to figure out the technique to get you across the pool.
I like that. Like, I love that about swimming. You can hear something and it doesn't click, but then it clicks later on. And like, it's just a random moment. You're like, whoa. And then you like remember someone told you something like that. And I think that's really powerful. I always give this example to people. Like, I used to coach a lot of kids swimming. And if you have a group of 10 kids and you're trying to get them to learn one thing, you have to say it in 5 different ways, because it's going to click with a couple of them one way and a couple the other. And that's kind of this like understanding and this curiosity you have to go through to become a good swimmer. Like you said, oh, I'm going to ask this person. They're really fast. Oh, I'm going to ask this person. And you kind of like blend together this cocktail that like helps you improve for yourself. And yeah, that's really awesome to hear.
Nice. Awesome. Well, sweet. Before we go, Michelle had this take that I thought was pretty hot. So yeah, can you share with us?
Yeah, we just said it off mic, but man, all these triathletes do 20 times 100. Stop doing that. That's so lame. It's so boring. No one likes to do 20 times 100 every single week. Try this set instead, and you'll have so much more fun.
Heck yeah.
100%.
Awesome. Thanks for
100%.
listening to this episode. Do it like Michelle said. You're going to get fast like her. And yeah, share this with your friends and swim with them, and you'll get better. So yeah, see you guys.
See ya. Thanks.